All right, guys, welcome. I feel like it's been way too long since I've been able to speak with any of you guys. Thank you guys for your patience for this show. We are back. You guys are tuned in to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And we are here on a Saturday morning. I'm telling you, this show is going to set, we're going to have a show basically almost every day of the week. I guarantee by the end of 2025, we will have had a show on every single day of the week. This is, I believe, our first morning show. Every other show we've done has either been at night, late at night, post game, live watch, but we've never had a show in the morning. This is new territory for me. Thank you so much, Taryn, for tuning in. And yes, it is, like I said, it is good to be back. Just a lot of stuff with work, a lot of stuff personally. But we also have some exciting things for this show and for this channel as well that's going to be coming up. No details yet. But just stay tuned. Gritsville USA isn't going away anywhere, and neither am I. So trust me. But super glad to be back. We have so much to go over. We're going to be mainly focused on the Pistons and the Tigers today, as those are the two hottest tickets in town. But we will be touching up on the Red Wings as well, and then also touching up on the Western Michigan Broncos hockey team, as they are in their first ever Frozen Four title game. Such an exciting time if you're a Bronco alum, Western Michigan alum. History was made this season with that team, but super glad to be back with you guys. Again, you guys are watching Gritsville USA right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to be back after this. Stay tuned.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
All right, guys, welcome back to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show. Again, I've been off air for the last couple weeks. Just man, work has been kicking my ass lately, but I'm super glad to be able. I'm so gracious to Larry and to the channel just for being patient with me, as I still get my work schedule all worked around, but they've been nothing but supportive of handling my business. That way I can come onto here and be able to share all that I love in sports with you guys as well. Ralph, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you tune into all the shows. You are probably one of the biggest number one supporters. You and Taryn, you guys always tune in to everybody's shows. I strive to be like you guys. When I have time, I always like to go back and watch your guys' shows and all the other great shows we have as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. Real quick, we got to handle some business. Give us a follow on X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, at IE Sports Radio. You'll find IE Sports Radio as a whole. You can find my show, Gritsville USA, and you can find all the great other shows that we got on there. And we're also going to be wherever you find your podcast, whether that's through Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Google, Amazon. There's so many podcasts that stations out right now. I could just keep going on. I feel like the entire show with it. But we're going to be there too. Again, check out all the other great shows that we got going on as well. And while you're at it, give me a follow at Gritsville_IESR. That's where you'll find the page for the show. And then you have my personal handle there on Twitter as well. But let's get down to business. Let's just get right to it. The best ticket in town, the Detroit Pistons. They are officially, with the loss to the Bucks last night, they are officially the 6th seed in the East, and they are going up against the 3rd-seeded New York Knicks. And, Ralph, you are right. Pistons-Knicks, it is going to be a playoff series to remember. This is the matchup I've been excited for. Now, I know I'm going to be talking Pistons, but for the sake of this show, I'm not going to go too much into the playoff preview. I'm going to save that for when we're back again on Thursday, our regular time. As the first matchup with that, I believe, would be next Saturday, as this entire week will be all the play-in stuff with the teams fighting for a playoff spot. I don't know. The NBA is weird. But it is going to be an exciting matchup. I wasn't alive during the Bad Boys time, but I've watched the docs. I've gone back and watched a couple of those old games, and man, yeah, the Bad Boys versus Ewing, Oakley, and all them, that was a great time. And the way that this past Thursday's matchup against the Knicks was, which was the final regular season matchup, I can expect more of the same, especially with what we got. I'll be touching base a little bit onto what happened this past Thursday. But like I said, I'm not going to go too much into the preview yet. I'm going to save that for Thursday's show, as that will probably be the majority of Thursday's show. I got super exciting stuff in the works with Ricky. Ricky is the host of the New York show, New York State of Sports. I know I'll be popping up on his show starting on Monday just to kind of, get started on the whole Pistons-Knicks thing. And then I know that he'll be coming on mine if he's able to as well. Again, so make sure you turn into Ricky's show, New York State of Sports. He's on live on Mondays at 12. This Monday, you'll see me there as well. And then, of course, Ralph, I always love shouting you guys out. And Jersey, Kirk Gibson, 80s. Love it. If the Tigers ever went back to something like this, oh my God, I'll buy every single jersey. I'm not even kidding. But back to the topic at hand with the Pistons. It's just a super, super exciting time. I mean, if you looked at the matchup, like last night's loss, it was what it was. I mean, they were finishing the home slate on a back-to-back. They played the Knicks on Thursday. And that was such a hard, well-fought battle. And then they had to go up against Milwaukee the next night. I know that last night they didn't have Isaiah Stewart, who was kind of the star of the show on Thursday, which, funny enough, for somebody to have like 1 point, 1 rebound, and 1 block, I think no assists, like Isaiah Stewart was the best player on that floor, and I'll get to why. But last night I wasn't expecting to win, and in fact I wanted the Pistons to at least lose one of these because the Knicks matchup is the one that I was wanting. And again, I'll go into all that on Thursday. I'll go into maybe even a little bit on Ricky's show on Monday, but this was the matchup I was looking for without a shadow of a doubt. Thursday's game against the Knicks, it started off rough. The first half of the game, like even I tweeted out, I'm like, this was a pretty ugly first half. I think they were down 10 at halftime, but they stormed back like how they've done on several occasions, and they finished strong. They won that game 115-106, but the main takeaway of that game was not only just Cade doing Cade things. Cade finished with 36 points that game, 8 assists, 2 boards, but it was Isaiah Stewart. Again, as I'm looking at the stat line here, and I was wrong. 0 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block. But that's not the thing with Isaiah Stewart that sticks out to me. It was the fact that he was clamping down Karl-Anthony Towns. A biggest concern about the Pistons is kind of defensive tendencies. And you kind of saw it last night. Last night they were a bit lazy on defense. But there's without a shadow of a doubt that not only is Isaiah Stewart the best defensive player we have on the team, but stat-wise, he's been one of the best in the league. I think only behind Wembanyama, and Wembanyama has been out for, I think, the last quarter of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Isaiah Stewart has, and he's lauded himself for that. He said, "I'm one of the best defensive players in the league." The stats do back it up, and then his performance against Cat on Thursday definitely backed it up even more. Cat was frustrated. And that was the biggest key for that comeback we had in the second half to beat the Knicks and basically let them know, just wait till next week. We're going to be in your place, and this is going to be more of the same. Tobias Harris was back as well, which, Harris seems like the veteran presence was needed. The Pistons were on a very tough slide prior to the Knicks game. I think they lost like 5 out of their last 6, which is not something you want to see from a team that's about to enter the playoffs. But the game against the Knicks was such a positive showing. Again, last night, I'm not going to fault them too much. They were on a back-to-back. They didn't have Isaiah Stewart. The refs were doing ref things with Giannis. So I'm not going to go into that shit. Not unless the Pistons have to go up against the Bucks in the playoffs if they make it that far. But I'm not going to fault them for last night. They do go up against Milwaukee again for the last regular season game in Milwaukee on Sunday. I don't know what to expect for tomorrow. I do expect probably some people to be sat now that the playoff picture is in place for them. Like, they're not going to, they're locked into the 6th seed. Nothing more is that. But super excited for this matchup again. I'll be on Ricky's show, New York State of Sports, on Monday, and then my show next week on Thursday. It is going to be entirely Piston-centric as we prepare for the first playoff matchup in a good amount of years, but actually like one that we're excited about because I know that the Pistons have made the playoffs like 2 times since the going to work days, but those were matchups where they were going to get annihilated and you weren't excited. But this is an exciting one. This is one that I think they can steal and then continue to move on in the playoffs. Nobody wanted to play this team. I definitely didn't want them to play the Bucks because again, something with Giannis and the refs when we play them is whatever. Indiana didn't scare me, but I really wanted to play the Knicks. So, like I said, we'll go into that more. But I do want to touch base on what this historic season was for the Pistons as well. Regardless of whatever happens tomorrow, whether they're going to be 45-37 or 44-38, however the season ends with the win or loss tomorrow, just the fact that they were able to do what they did compared to how it was last year. I mean, even when I started this show back in November, I wasn't bought into the Pistons yet. They weren't what we came to know them now. They're like, like, all right, cool. They at least are winning here and there compared to last year. But as as the season progressed, you just kind of kept seeing who they were. It just got so exciting. And you can trace that all the way back to a Miami Heat game where, for those that remember, I think we got like a last minute bucket. I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. I think it was in might have been in December. It was a game against the Heat. It was a play-in game, or not a play-in game, a in-season tournament game, if I'm not mistaken. Where, yes, November. I think it was November 12th, and that was kind of the turnaround. No, December 16th. I'm wrong, because the Pistons were up by. They had tied the game. Eric Spoelstra had called a timeout that he didn't have. PTSD for U of M fans from the 90s. Which led to a technical free throw that Cade made. We won that game in overtime, 125-124. And from then on there, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. This is what happened since that game. And I remember talking about it because I remember going like, okay, this is the rest of the slate for December. This is what I expect. Their next game was against the Jazz, which they lost. And, the Jazz has been one of the worst teams in the league. But this is what happened after that Heat game. And I'm not going to go over the rest of the season, but let's go until like mid-January. Loss, win, 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 loss, win, 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 loss, win, win. It kind of just took off from there. The Pistons were now winning. They were beating teams that they needed to beat, like the Timberwolves, the Magic. They beat the Lakers. They beat the Kings. Like, in that Kings game, so those I remember, that was an exciting-ass game. But that Heat game in December was the catalyst for what this season became. This team had a chip on their shoulder. All it took was, another team to make a very critical mistake. But for whatever reason, that was the confidence booster that they needed. Malik Beasley continued to go off. Malik Beasley is one of 3 players this season. I think this was the first time in NBA history where in one season, 3 players have finished with over 300 3-points made. Beasley also joined Steph Curry and Anthony Edwards with that. I think right now Beasley is second behind Edwards for most 3-points made this season. Cade, all-star. There were some MVP talks with him. Now, it never gained to anything. Not when you had SGA and then Jokic and all that stuff, but his name came up. The Pistons started getting national recognition, which some of these guys are hilarious. I love the Inside the NBA crew, but come on, they for all the moaning that they were doing about ESPN only talking about like the Lakers and the Knicks, like. They didn't do themselves any favors because, one, you had Shaq a while back saying, I don't watch the Pistons because they're boring. And then you had, I think, Charles, not inside the NBA crew, but still people that are just like trying to hop on the Pistons wave, but they're not paying attention. Like Stephen A. Smith, I think, called Cade Cunningham Wade Cunningham. You had Kenny Smith on Inside the NBA called Jalen Duren, John Duren. You had Charles Barkley say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go back to the Palace." Like these guys, and at the same time, I don't, with the exception of Shaq, because what Shaq said, he's just still salty about the 014. As far as the other guys go, I don't want to blame them because, again, it was just last year that the Pistons were literally the laughingstock of the NBA. I'm not going to fault them for not paying attention, then all of a sudden they have to now. But like, come on, let's get names right. I get that the Pistons haven't been on national TV, but the Palace hasn't been a thing for almost 8 years now. Like, come on, let's get with the times. But I'm glad we're trying now in the national media. I'm really glad they're trying, and again, it's well deserved. The Pistons have been what the Lions were a couple years ago. The feel-good story of the league when the league really needed one. the NBA has so many issues within it, just within of itself, and it needed a story like the Pistons, just a team that was completely irrelevant. They were the worst of the worst, record-setting 28 losses in a row. Like, they needed a story of a team that goes hard to work, doesn't back down, and then defies all expectations. Like, beginning of this year, I think if I said correctly, I'm like, yeah, it would be cool if they make the play-in. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting a fight for the 5th seed all up until the second to last game of the regular season. But it happened. I wasn't expecting them to completely bypass the play-in, or even for a majority of the second half of the season, fight between two other teams for a potential 4th seed spot to have home court advantage. But they did it. I wasn't expecting national media to care about this team, because the only time they were brought up last year was, haha, they lost 28 games in a row. Wingstop, or because the whole thing with Wingstop was like, oh, the Pistons win, we'll give you free wings, and then that the people of Detroit were suffering because they were never getting free wings, and it's like, just the complete turnaround has been absolutely spectacular. I am proud of this team, regardless of however it ends, and I'm going to go into my playoff expectations. This matchup against the Knicks, I'm gonna treat, and I've said this before, but I'm gonna reiterate it because I'm still trying to convince myself of it. But I think for me it mainly rings true. This is kind of like the Tigers of last year. The Pistons are playing with house money this year. The Tigers last year, they went on their improbable run to make it to the playoffs. Because it wasn't just them winning; they needed another team to collapse with them. And that's what the Twins did. They collapsed. The Tigers took well advantage of it. All the pitching chaos. They made the playoffs. They defied all the odds. For the Pistons, I think that's more of the same. The Pistons made history by being the first team to triple their win total from the previous season. They went from 14 wins. I think it was 14. I'm probably giving them way too much credit. I think it was either 12 or 14. I don't remember. To potentially finishing with either 44 or 45 wins, depending on how tomorrow goes. And they set that record like a couple games back. Nobody was expecting that from them. But yet here we are. So, again, the Knicks, like I said, have been my favorite matchup. And if it doesn't go our way, I'm not going to be upset about it, because it's going to be about what are you going to do next year to make sure that this year wasn't an anomaly. JB Bickerstaff has done a tremendous job coaching this team. The veteran presence that we've had here with Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr., and I can throw Malik Beasley in there as well, like absolutely spectacular, and this is what happens in the league. You become good, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, let's get a superstar here. Like, everybody's been talking about Devin Booker. I know I talked about Devin Booker a while back, like about what it would take for him to trade here if I'd welcome it. At the time I was, but now I'm kind of sitting here, why kind of ruin what you have? Jaden Ivey, he's clear for basketball activities now. He just has to do a 2-week conditioning program, which means that if the Pistons get through this first series with the Knicks, or even if this Knicks series goes to like maybe 6 or 7 games, Jaden Ivey could be back for that. He could be back for the next round, or he can be back towards the end of this series, because he was cleared a couple days ago, and the playoff series doesn't start until next week. And assuming that it takes maybe about 2 weeks, it could take longer. Like, I'm not holding my breath for Jaden Ivey being back in the playoffs, but if he does, like, he's supposed to be Cade's number 2. You look at Duren, and Duren is looking like this could be modern day almost Shaq and Kobe with Cunningham and Duren. And Duren is a name that I've seen be popped out. Like, if you want Devin Booker, you're gonna have to give up maybe Jaden Ivey. You're gonna have to give up Jalen Duren. Like, no, none of that is happening. I think you got to keep the core of this team. And Trajan Langdon, the president of basketball operations, did a great job with giving this team what it needed, which was help around Cade. You gave him Malik Beasley. You gave him Tobias Harris. You gave him Tim Hardaway Jr. You brought in Dennis Schroeder at the trade deadline, and that worked out tremendously. And again, Cade's only going to get better. Duren's only going to get better. Ron Holland's only going to get better. Asor Thompson's only going to get better. Jaden Ivey's going to come back, and he's going to be better. Like, this is a squad. I don't think you got to blow it up just to have Devin Booker come here. If Devin Booker wants to come here, Again, I'm not going to knock it, but I think you got to do it without trading any of your young pieces. If you want to give the Phoenix Suns like 4 first-round picks and yes, unfortunately, the odd man out would probably be Jaden Ivey if the Phoenix Suns want to take on a player coming off a pretty major injury. I would be fine with that. But you can't blow this team up. Back to the original point, I'm not going to be upset if the Pistons lose to the Knicks. The only way I'll be upset is if this series ends in a sweep and it looks like they didn't try. If this goes to like 6 games and they lose, 4-2, or this goes to even game 7, they lose 4-3, I'm not going to be mad at it. It's just exciting to see them here, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do next. But again, I'll be going more into depth with this upcoming playoff matchup. Again, I will be guest appearing on Ricky's show on Mondays, so make sure you tune in. New York State of Sports, 12 p.m. on Mondays. That's where you can catch his show. And then I'll be back to my regular schedule on Thursday, where, like I said, that'll be very entirely Piston-centric. But we are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we will be doing a little bit of hockey talk. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm not going to spend too much on the Red Wings. I'm very excited to talk about the Western Michigan Broncos, though. But again, you guys have been watching Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be back after this. Stay tuned.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
All right, guys, welcome back to Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to kick off this second part of our show with what is basically going to be the postmortem for the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings did win last night. They won a thrilling overtime game against the Tampa Bay Lightning just to barely keep their playoff hopes alive. They're still in it, but the chances of making it are basically probably 0.0000001%. There's only 3 games left in the season. They are down basically what is the equivalent of 3 games, meaning that for any chance for them to make it, one, they're going to have to win out. The Canadians are going to have to lose out. I think the Canadians only have 3 games left as well. And then the 2 teams above the Red Wings, which by the way of tiebreaker, because they're all tied at 81 points, which would be the Rangers and the Blue Jackets, they would at least have to lose, I would think at that point, at least just one of their games, just so that they can potentially also make it to 87 points, which is where the Canadians are currently at. But I mean, it's season's dead in the water, in my opinion. It was, to say it was a fun season would be a lie, because that month of March was just that was the nail in the coffin for this team. When you lose all but 4 games in the month of March, like that's where you end up. When you have an extremely lackluster trade deadline, this is where you're going to end up. Like, the magic of the new coaching hire was going to run out, and it's completely on Steve Yzerman for not taking advantage of the momentum that this team was having in order to better it, because of things of we're waiting for the young guy, salary stuff, like whatever. That's not what we wanted to hear. This team was hot. Nobody was wanting to play the Red Wings, and then your own general manager completely killed the momentum. So as far as the Red Wings go, unless literally an act of God happens, I foresee this is the last time I speak on the Red Wings until the free agency starts. We'll see if Steve Yzerman's going to be back. It's going to be what it is. And we'll just see if he decides to do anything. If not, then shucks. That's all I can say is just, well, it is what it is. What are you going to do, you know? Red Wings, technically still in it, but let's be real here. I'm not kidding myself. So as far as Gritsville, USA is concerned for the foreseeable future, that is it for the Red Wings. There is nothing more to speak on. It is dead. It is done. But hey, let's go on to some positive hockey talk. With the Western Michigan Broncos men's hockey team making it to the Frozen Four for the first time in program history, and beating the defending champions Denver University, now going up against Boston University in the title game. And again, I'm still getting used to following all the sports in Michigan, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh yeah, you know, I don't know what the Broncos chant is. I know Central Michigan's fire up chips. I know they used to be row the boat in Western, but I don't know what their thing is. But like, you know, the more that you see about this team, like this is a feel-good story. You know, you had your elite teams that are typically always in the Frozen Four with, you know, Boston, Denver, seemed like they're always there. I know Penn State was in there as well. Boston ended up beating them. But then you have this little team from the MAC, the Western Michigan Broncos, just kind of show up, you know, shake things up a little bit. And, you know, the way that they made it to the title game is insane. They went to double overtime against Denver, but then 20 or so seconds into the double overtime, they got the game-winning goal. Oren Michael scored his second of the night, and here we are. And it's been a very historic season for the Western Michigan Broncos. From my understanding, that they set a single-season record for victories with 33, and that they are even currently on a 9-game winning streak. And it was a little scary game for them, as they had a 2-0 lead in the third period against Denver. They blew that, had to go to overtime. But again, here they are now. The game is tonight, and this is kind of a big thing for schools like Western Michigan, because now they're hoping that with this hockey run that they can boost enrollment, boost donors. And, you know, this is an article from Eric Jackson that I'm looking at from Sportico. Again, Eric Jackson is the author, and it's just like Western Michigan is spending there's not going cheap on all the expenses for this team. Like they're spending about $300,000 on the Frozen Four run. According to Eric, this is with charter seats, travel team expenses, and then paying for tickets for students to make it out to, I believe, the Frozen Four is in St. Louis. So the Broncos and the university are wasting no time, no money, like blank checking it just because this is going to be vital. And yes, prospects, going into college, they like going for teams that can make some noise, and that's definitely what Western Michigan is doing. And again, they could very much help with donors. Like if you're coming off a historic season, like your alum, the people that like to donate to their schools, give them even more money. They can definitely provide more for this hockey team, because why not try to run it back? You're coming off a record-setting season. Western Michigan can become a school like, 'cause let's be real, outside of hockey, and I might get some backlash from this probably from people within IE Sports Radio as well. And my fault for not paying attention, but like, where else do you hear Boston University or Denver University come up in sports other than hockey? Again, I could be wrong. I could be told after the show, well, this, and that, and I mean, and that's fine and all, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Frozen Four isn't a big thing. Like, I know that Michigan has made it. I know that Michigan State has made it. But like for a team like Western Michigan, like this is huge. And to make it to the title game, like eyes are going to be on your school in Kalamazoo tonight. This is major. And especially in a time where now NIL is a thing with the NCAA and all that stuff. Like, it's just super important to have moments like this, teams like this, because now you have hockey royalty with Boston against highly big underdog Western Michigan. And this game could very well be a blowout. I mean, I know they beat Denver and everything, but Boston could go into this game and just absolutely annihilate Western Michigan. And it's fine. It's whatever. But you made it this far. Like, this is such a huge thing for them. And as far as like where Western Michigan, and again, this is according to Eric Phillips of Sportico, like, he was able to determine that for all the Western Michigan ticket sales, obviously football is king. It's taking majority of it. Football ticket sales was $828,000. Ice hockey was second with 501. You try to become a hockey powerhouse, and let's be real, like, I understand college hockey is never going to be as big as football or basketball. Those are always going to be the for sure things. Western Michigan basketball can go on a run. They can make the tournament. They can be like the darling, the Cinderella of the tournament. College hockey is never going to get there. But there is such thing as college hockey royalty. And if Western Michigan can start building on this momentum, that can be your thing. That can be your thing that your school is known for. Because let's be real, other than like the one bowl game appearance they had like 10, 11, 12 years ago, Western Michigan hockey or Western Michigan football's never going to be a thing. Basketball, I mean, you weren't good this season. What makes you think you're going to be good next year? Like, let's make Western Michigan hockey the thing that Western Michigan is known for. And I like when schools do that. Like, I can't use Michigan as an example, but let me use Ohio State, for example. Ohio State football is the biggest thing. I hate Ohio State, but I'm going to use them as an example. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Ohio State basketball is like that. People go to Ohio State for basketball, because they don't. People go to Ohio State for football. Michigan, people go to Michigan for all types of sports, not just football. People go there for basketball. People go there for hockey. People go there for tennis and all that. Michigan State, I mean, on a lesser scale, like, people go there for basketball. They're kind of struggling on the football part of it, but Michigan State was very good in football during the D'Antonio days. And people like going to schools for specific things. If you're a high school kid and you're great at hockey, and if Western Michigan can offer you something very well, why not go there? Because you know that they're going to establish themselves as a tremendous program, and they can lead the charge with that. But anyways, I digress. Title game tonight. Western Michigan Broncos versus the Boston University. I don't know what they are. They might not even have a mascot. Boston University, smart people. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a fun one. I know that I'll be at work later tonight, but I'll be tuning in to just kind of see where they are here and there. And if you follow my page at Gritsville_IESR, you're going to see updates on there. But super excited for Western Michigan. They win tonight. I'm telling you, Western Michigan, watch out. They are going to become a name. But we're going to be taking one more break. When we come back, we are going to be finishing with the Detroit Tigers. And we're going to be going back to, real quick, Taryn, thank you. The Boston University Terriers. You know what? Now that you say that, that does sound right. I could have sworn I've heard them Terriers. So thank you, Taryn, for being my fact checker. I appreciate you. But yes, Western Michigan Broncos versus the Boston University Terriers. Tonight, Frozen 4, tune in. I don't know what channel is going to be on, but tune in, find out. But again, we'll be back with Tigers Talk. You are watching Gritsville USA right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be back after this.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Are you a fan of Minnesota sports? Do you love the Vikings and hate the Packers? Are you a fan of the Timberwolves, Twins, Wild, Lynx, St. Paul Saints? Here on the Bold North Breakdown, we'll talk about all of those professional teams as well as all the college teams in the area. That's your basketball teams, football, hockey, volleyball, men's and women's sports alike. We talk about them all. Here on the Bold North Breakdown. Join me, your host, Glenn Ritter, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central to discuss all that is happening in the Minnesota sports scene here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, guys, welcome back to Gritsville USA right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are going to finish off with the hometown darlings, Detroit Tigers, who last night are coming off a very gritty win against the Minnesota Twins last night. They were down 4-1. The offense picked up, gritty win. They win 7-6, and that's just kind of what you've been seeing from them again this year. Last year's whole thing was gritty tigs. You know, we shouldn't win, but here we are. We have no bats, but yet somehow we're hitting. It's nice to see that that's carried over because, again, Scott Harris has made it known that the strength of this team is the pitching. And we were all, myself included, were up in arms about, the bats, the hitting. We did nothing. Gleyber Torres is hurt. This team is winning. They're going to be up against the Twins again today. Jackson Jobe on the mound. But this is how the Tigers have looked since I last spoke with you last. When I last spoke with you, I think we were live watching one of the games, and they lost the series opener, got swept by the Dodgers. I don't want to say to be expected because I think they were definitely robbed in one of them. I think defensively they messed up in another. But I'll be going over some defensive woes and issue because there's only one culprit for that. But ever since the Dodgers series, the Tigers have gone 8-2. Their next series, they were up against the Mariners. They won those first two, just dropped the last one. We swept the White Sox because obviously, and then with the Yankees, beat them the first two, and then just terrible defensive performance caused us to lose the last one, which kept the Tigers from winning their not setting a record, but beating like an over 100-year record of losing like the first six home games of the season. They haven't done that since I think the broadcast said 1911. But now they go to Minnesota last night. They win that one in such dramatic fashion, and here we are. And how do we even get here? Because last time I spoke with you, I was saying that the injury bug that was in Ford Field walked right across Brush Street and went right over into Comerica Park. But yeah, here we are, and the offense is overcoming those injuries. And it's thanks to unlikely heroes. I mean, you look at players like Zach McKinstry. Zach McKinstry, who I've been kind of wanting to be off this team. I tweeted this last night, and it's because of a tweet I saw from the other person. I forgot who tweeted it. And I was like, low-key, the MVP of this team so far has been Zach McKinstry. He's been coming up clutch. I think he's tied on the team for the most hits so far in the season with 14. I think he's tied with Riley Green or something. Like, Zach McKinstry has come up huge, especially with the injury to Gleyber Torres and with the fallacies of Colt Keith. It's been such a weird thing to see. But this team is producing, and here's the crazy part. This team is producing now. This offense is producing now. Yes, the Dodger series, say whatever you want about it. I think the Tigers should have been rewarded one of those games if they weren't robbed of it. But this team has had so many injuries. We're still waiting for some sort of news on Parker Meadows. I know Matt Vierling, it seems like that he's shaping up to be coming back in, and I'm hoping that when Vierling comes back, we can just shoot Ryan Kreidler out to frickin' Neptune, get him out of here. So Vierling will be coming back soon. No idea on Meadows, but then here's the other thing too. Wenceel Perez, I think, is going to be out for the year. He was just put on the 60-day IL. I don't know for what. Manuel Margot, who I was very high on early this season with his early, performance, he's on the 10-day list. We just got Gleyber Torres back from being on the 10-day, but then we just went ahead and put our catcher Jake Rogers under the 10 days. So it's like injuries are just coming left and right, left and right, left and right. But then this team is still producing. Like, this team made the Yankees, other than that last game, look stupid. And yes, a lot of that was credit due to pitching because, hats off to Skubal and Mize, and then Flaherty. I mean, Flaherty pitched an amazing game, but that was a pitcher's battle all up until the defensive issues came in. But the pitching is carrying this team, and the offense is still doing enough to carry the slack from the guys that are injured, which is, again, I love to see that. Zach McKinstry, again, is the MVP of this team so far this season, and I never thought in a million years I'd say that. But there is somebody that I am highly concerned about, and that would be with Colt Keith. Now, I've been told, don't start freaking out about Colt Keith. It's early season. He spent an entire spring training preparing for one position, and he wasn't prepared to play the other. And this is what I mean by that. Let me put this in context for you. Spencer, with the signing of Gleyber Torres was going to be a second baseman. And that essentially was going to move Colt Keith over to first, because at the time when the signing was made, Spencer Torkelson was on his way out, basically. Spencer Torkelson was I can't even say that last year, but he, for majority of his Tigers career, has been the first baseman. Colt Keith last year played second base, and he did all right. Like, he wasn't like some flashy like Gold Glove candidate, but serviceable. We signed Gleyber Torres. Immediately, it was like Gleyber Torres is going to be second baseman. He's not going to be DHing. But then I was like, where does that leave Colt Keith? Well, Colt Keith was going to move to first. Okay, where does that leave Spencer Torkelson? He's either going to be a DH or down to AAA. Fast forward to the regular season. And I'll go over more on Torkelson in a bit, but basically, quick preview, Torkelson gets hot. Torkelson is still hot. He's still producing. He's still raking. The injury to Torres, Torkelson gets his first base slot back. Colt Keith gets moved back to second, which, again, as a reminder, Colt Keith played majority second base last year. All of a sudden, Colt Keith forgot how to play second base. And again, I know that showed up in a match, I think there was one, and I think was it a Yankee game or was it a White Sox game? There was one game where he was just lost. He was lost. Taylor made double play, didn't record a single out because he had no idea who to throw it to. He had no idea if to throw it to second or to the pitcher who was going up to first. No idea. Backtrack a little bit to the final game against the Yankees in that series. Now, to be fair, Dylan Dingler deserves some criticism too, because he had two pop up easy flyouts in foul territory, dropped both of them. So that's on Dingler. And at that point, you are down 2-0 at that point. And yes, they were in a bit of trouble. Brebbia was struggling a bit. Colt Keith gets a ball to him. That was going to be a for-sure double play. Puts you at 2 outs in the ninth. Gets you a little bit closer to out of trouble. Colt Keith couldn't have control of the ball. Defensive parts aside, Colt Keith also isn't hitting well, which is something that we were all excited about last year and that he produced pretty well in. And the hitting part I can understand, like, okay, fine. It can take some people time to warm up, the sophomore slump, whatever. But as far as the defensive stuff goes, I don't think saying that he's been preparing all spring for a certain position is an excuse when he already played the other position completely last year. It's like learning how to run, but then you forgot how to walk. Like, that makes no sense to me. And again, as far as the hitting is concerned, I'm not concerned about Colt Keith in the slightest. Again, the bat will come, and even with that, like, I think he's leading, or at least is tied in the league with the most walks drawn. So he has good plate discipline. That's definitely for sure. The power, the precision will come with that. I just think right now, and I do feel bad for Colt Keith, because after the Yankee game, he was asked about it after the game. He had his hat down real low. Excuse me. You could tell he was emotional, and he just said, like, his confidence has never been lower. And that's not something you want to hear or see, which is unfortunate. And last night, his bat did appear. His bat was a part of the comeback victory we had, so I'm glad for him with that. Because with him, it's going to be little things to increase his confidence back up. But now, I think with Gleyber Torres being back, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be a platoon of Keith and Justin Henry Malloy at DH, or maybe even Torque as well. If you want to keep trying to develop Colt Keith as a first baseman, I mean, there can be some nights where you can put Spencer Torkelson at DH, and that's fine. But I think the Tigers, especially with Justin Henry Malloy being basically only DHing because Justin Henry Malloy is a liability defensively. At least they got some bats there. And now, especially with Torkelson raking, it just kind of gives you more options to play around with. Cole Keith is going to have to get his confidence back one way or another. So we'll see what happens with that. But we also have some. Let's get a little more positive here, because we do have some positive early returns from, like I've mentioned before, Spencer Torkelson. I understand it's still early in the season. Like today's game 14 of 162, still a long season. The dog days of summer are coming. But the early return from Spencer Torkelson is this is the guy that we drafted first overall in 2020. So yay, like this is who we got. He's been raking. The plate discipline has been so much better. And then the surprising one as well has been with Casey Mize. Casey Mize, I know that during the offseason, he was our first overall pick in 2019. He kind of tweaked up his pitching style a bit during the offseason, and so far the early returns from that have been great. He had a phenomenal spring, and so far I think with 2 games pitched in the regular season, has been 2 games? Yeah, because this third one's tomorrow. 2 games pitched so far, phenomenal. Like, he was mowing down the Yankees in that first game of that Yankee series. And this was with the whole Yankees, being like, we have the torpedo bats now. We're going to hit everything our way. And then they just kept them to basically nothing. Except for, I think, 1 run, but still. Casey Mize has been an early great return as well. And then another one, which is shocking to me. And I'm not going to give him too much credit because he went from being absolutely useless to doing the bare minimum, but nowhere to go but up, I guess. But Javi Baez, it seems like the plate discipline is it's a little bit there. It's a little bit there. He's hitting. His OPS is way better than whatever the hell it was last year. And defensively, I mean, he's still El Mago a little bit. So very good early return from those 3 guys. And again, I've spoken the praises of Zach McKinstry. And again, Ryan Kreidler, just don't even send him out of AAA. Just cut him loose. He brings nothing to this team. Dylan Dingler, he's another one I want to credit because other than the 2 boneheaded non-catches in foul territory, whatever you want to say about that, his bat's here too. He's been hitting. Riley Green, obviously. Kerry Carpenter is hitting left-handed bombs now, which was something that last year kept him out of the lineup anytime that a lefty would be up to pitch. Kerry's finding his power with that, so now it's going to be harder to keep Kerry Carpenter out of those type of situations. When last year, I think Kerry Carpenter, when he was up against righties, he was like literally, I think, top 5. Like he was on the same level as like Aaron Judge. I think even Ohtani. Like his slugging percentage, I think is what it was up there with the best. But then when you go to lefties, he was literally, I think, bottom of the list. So clearly he worked on something during the offseason to get better with that. But let's look at what the Tigers have coming up until we meet again. So they're going to finish off this series against the Twins. A win today gets them another series win. They're just going to kind of keep building these series wins up. They're currently leading in the AL Central by a game. The Guardians did get hot again. They started off very poorly, just like everybody in the American League Central started off very poorly. But the Guardians and even the Royals have heated up a bit. Guardians are 1 game back. Royals are 1.5 game back. Tigers are leading by 1. He's currently sitting at 8-5. But they have this weekend series against the Twins. We got Jackson Jobe on the mound today, who I'm a little bit concerned about. But it's still very early. But something's going to happen here, or something has to change here, especially with Kiter Montero getting hot in Toledo. It's going to be extremely hard to keep Montero away from the major league level. I mean, all the other pitching's been great. I mean, Scooble's Scooble. Flaherty's great. Olsen is aight. Jackson Jobe has been aight. And then Casey Mize has been spectacular so far. But Kyder Montero, who was up here last year, got some major league experience. He's been tearing it up in AAA, and it's going to be hard to keep him away. But we'll see how Jackson Jobe does today. We'll see if he can get more and more settled in. Again, I'm not too worried about him, but we'll see. But after the Twins series wraps up tomorrow with Mize on the mound, we then go to Milwaukee for a 3-game series there. There you'll probably see the likes of Skubal, Flaherty, and Reese Olson again. And then we have our first major American League Central matchup against the Royals for a 4-game series, which that will start the day that we'll be back on air on Thursday, I believe. So I'll be, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we might even be on air when that game is happening. No, actually, no, we're not. It should be when it wrapped up. So I know I said that show will be all Piston-centric, but we'll go over that Tiger game as well, as that will probably be all wrapped up with a pretty bow by the time that we are on air at 9 p.m. on Thursday. But that is our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this Saturday morning. Again, Saturday morning, I'm telling you, we're going to hit every single day of the week this year. I just feel it coming. I think we already got like 4 days of the week down. Yes, look at those good old Detroit Tigers. I'm a little excited. Oh, no, I've always been excited, but I'm a little more optimistic. I know when I did the big preview show that I was saying, the injuries were concerning me, but the early returns with how this team has been performing without it. Because here's the thing, too. This team could very well be like 10-3. I could even say 11-2. If it wasn't for some of those defensive issues that came up. Like, I think Cole Keith cost us the game against Seattle. The one Seattle game we lost, he and Dingler cost us the game against the Yankees. And then we were robbed of one of the games against the Dodgers. This team could very well be 11-2 right now. And I am super proud of the way they've been performing with all the injuries they've had. And it's only going to get better. Matt Vierling's going to come back. I never have to see Ryan Kreidler again, hopefully. And no word but up. The AL Central is weak. We get through that first 4-game series against the Royals, we can start to create some real separation. It does bother me that we don't play the Guardians for the first time this season until basically end of May. So it's just going to be kind of just heat race between the Guardians and the Tigers all up until then. Make sure you guys tune in to the Frozen Four Championship tonight. Western Michigan Broncos. Go Broncos. Again, I don't know what their whole thing is, but tune in up against the Boston Terriers. Thank you again for that, Taryn. And then make sure you guys tune in on Monday to Ricky's show, New York State of Sports. I will be on there for a bit of time. We will be talking Knicks Pistons matchup. And then on Thursday, like I said, on my show, we will be fully Piston-centric with a little bit of Tigers in there. Exciting time in Detroit sports if you don't include the Red Wings in anything. I know we will be ramping up closer to the draft, so the Lions will be coming back into focus for a bit of time. Super exciting stuff. I'm super excited for this month of April. Thank you guys so much for waking up early. If you guys do sleep in, for tuning in to Gritsville USA right here on IE Sports Radio. Again, make sure that you follow us on X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're all there. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys on Thursday and Monday if you tune into Ricky's show. Stay tuned.